I think it's a must that we take advantage of India's soft power. Now, I've always believed that the most easiest way across the borders and into the hearts of all citizens of the world is through your culture. And there's nothing better to promote our culture than the films or the serials or the songs or the various content which is there on the television, the films. Now the point is, one, the content, two, our ability to reach out. And to that effect, I think one of the most important things is, after having realized that yes, it is important, now structure, other resources, training, expertise, exchanges with the other countries, technology exchange with the other countries, everything is possible. And we have already started doing that. We've had a treaty signed with Canada for films. We have had with China. And therefore, 50,000 Chinese theaters can now show Indian films on a revenue sharing basis. You know, you can imagine the amount of revenue there is once they are not just buying it, but sharing it with us.
Yeah, we've just done that for our film PK, and that is scheduled to release pretty soon. So we have taken advantage of exactly that. And I guess to your point, when it comes to movies like The Lunchbox, when it comes to movies that are actually able to resonate outside of being relevant only to a South Asian diaspora, we see the way that those movies succeed overseas. So there's no reason why there might not be more of that in the future. What you raised, sir, was a very interesting point about the investment in creative talent and the fact that if we can do things together as a private and public partnership, we can actually raise the quality of creative talent at this point of time. Again, I just wanted to share a few glass half full and a few glass half empty statistics with you. The glass half full statistics are that, you know, we make 1,600 movies a year. There are more than 3 billion admissions in this country. As you said, there are thousands of television and radio channels and lakhs of print publications. We are scheduled, as per the latest report that we've just released, to double this industry within the course of the next 5 years. And we're the only media and entertainment industry to really be in a double-digit growth phase. So that, I think, really is a good news. We're amongst the top 10 media and entertainment nations in the world as well. It all sounds great. The glass half empty, unfortunately, is that at this point of time, we enjoy the lowest percentage of income from an individual when you compare our country to other countries. The media and entertainment industry only takes away 9% of the share of the wallet of an individual at this point. Only 1% of the global media and entertainment revenue comes from here. Our whole industry, when you compare the size of our whole industry, it's less than the business of the top 15 films released in Hollywood. And we really do have miles to go. I think when you look at a country like China, which has managed to actually give a fair amount of impetus to its industry, in 2009, their film industry was smaller than ours. Today, they're competing with the US. They have 18 screens opening a day. They've got 90 screens per million as far as their population goes. We have 8. The US has 130. This has happened because the government has actually worked on various SOPs in order to encourage the exhibition sector there, in order to encourage the media and entertainment sector there, because they realize that not commensurate to the size of that sector can be the impact of that sector on social and cultural change, both in China as well as outside of it. Do you think our government would be open to looking at the media and entertainment sector, which has been fairly unregulated in the past, but has become very regulated over the last couple of years, in a way that the other developing markets like China are looking at their sectors and saying, this is not the time to milk this industry, because frankly the cost to the exchequer will really be negligible right now considering the scale of the industry. This is the time to give impetus to the industry and really try for it to grow in the years to come. Is there some way we can look at an elaborate plan to be able to have that sort of support and backing from the government going forward?
Well, the glass half full at least gives us an opportunity to do something, right? And I guess, my sense of the industry is that it's working in different directions. It's working on an individual effort. What China has been able to do, and what US has already done, is to concentrate the entire energies onto a certain specific direction. I think that is what is required in the Indian industry now. And for that, like I mentioned earlier, is the ability to interact more often, and for us to understand your strength, and for you to be able to constructively come together and move in a certain specific direction. There are certainly great opportunities now that the glass is half empty for us to move ahead in terms of marketing of the films abroad. Now, till now, the Information Broadcasting Ministry has been holding a whole lot of seminars, film festivals, purely for marketing of films. But this we've been doing for art films mostly. And I think perhaps there is an opportunity to do it for films across the board. And do it more often, and do it more aggressively. Also, when the government is trying to hold film festivals, government typically is not an expert in this field, and therefore when you join your forces, you bring in your expertise with us, then together we'll be able to market them better. We will also be able to understand what are the lacunas that you need the government to address, and then those can be addressed specifically. So yes, we should move ahead, and it's imperative, I guess.
I'm now going to go down a bit down the part of regulation and taxation, because of course you're here and we would like to take that opportunity to bring up a few things. As I was saying, this has been a fairly unregulated sector in the past, and that has led to a certain amount of growth as far as the sector is concerned. It was also, frankly, because it wasn't taken very seriously, and therefore it was unregulated because it was just left to do its own thing. What is the sense that media and entertainment industry has over the last few years is that the regulations have increased, but we're not taken as seriously at this point of time when it comes to being able to give us the benefits of being recognized as an industry. And I'll just cite a couple of points. This has nothing to do specifically with this government. It's just about the sense that one has had over the last few years. And I'll just run down a few lists in terms of the regulations that we've had. As far as our taxation is concerned, it is a non-structured environment at this point. There are various slabs of taxation that are not necessarily uniform. When it comes to the film industry, you've got entertainment tax, you've got service tax, you've got VAT. We hope all this is subsumed under GST, but that it has been a very big burden on the whole sector in the last few years because of the extent of taxation on the industry. Certification and not censorship, as you have so rightly pointed out. There have been instances over the last few months where there have been a few issues when it came to that. I must say that you have made a point to clarify what exactly this government's view is on that. And I will say personally that a film like Haider, which won 5 national awards last week, was considered to be very left of centre, whereas this government is considered very right of centre. And I think that film actually did demonstrate that the government was not involved in any way in the decisions taken at the central level as far as entertainment is concerned. Having said that, there have been some concerns on censorship in the last few weeks and months. There has been a Copyright Act that was passed, but there were no copyright societies that were created after that. So that's left a fair amount of dissonance as far as the content creators are concerned about who bears which part of the royalty payments, and those copyright societies are yet to be formed. Law enforcement permissions, as we saw recently with the Seinfeld show getting cancelled here in Bombay, it's a small incident, but the sort of embarrassing signal that it sends out to various performers around the world when they think of coming to India almost indicates that India is not a place where you can trust whether something will happen or not. There's been a delay in the digitization as far as the television sector is concerned as well, phase 3 and phase 4. We hope that that is implemented soon. Radio, of course, there have been certain delays in phase 3. There's a 26% FDI cap. So I can go on, and there's a triple consent on VAS offerings, which was not there earlier. There are ad caps on broadcasting, which is important for me to litanize in order to make the point that there are so many regulations on this industry at a point of time when it can actually jump to the next level and flourish. So would this government look at being able to help us out with these and really do the right thing as far as regulating is concerned? Don't under-regulate, but don't over-regulate as well.
Certainly, we need to be changing with time. And in some ways, we've demonstrated very clearly that your fears are unfounded. In some ways, you would see soon, once we start interacting, when we start knowing your issues, that we would be addressing them and making it easier for you. Let me start with the certification process, or famously called the censorship. I make it a point to call the word certification always. It's a certification board. In January, when the board was reconstituted, not entirely of course, there were a few members which are there from the past as well. Since then, there have been about 200 films that have come to the certification board. Only 23 out of 200 were needed to go beyond the first examining committee, which actually is great. Only 23 were required to go to the second stage, and only 2 were required to go to the tribunal. I think that is a fabulous statistics. Now, I understand where the fear is coming from, and to that extent, I think that has been addressed by the board itself, wherein the board decided that a certain list will be put aside and will be dealt with later. It's a smart way of handling an issue that is cropped up. As far as the government is concerned, because all of you would feel that what the certification board is doing is what the government has directed it to do. So to that extent, let me make it very clear today as well, and I made it clear earlier as well, that the government believes that this is a certification board. And to that extent, when we do the new Cinematographic Act, we might just take the alphabet C out because it confuses people from certification and censorship, and call it ratings, a ratings board. The idea is that we as parents or as individuals need to know what we are going in to see. Whether it's an adult film, and perhaps we might bring in the US certification system of 12 plus, 17, 15, whatsoever it is, so that we as individuals are aware that this is certified as a such and such film, and it is for such and such reasons that it has been certified this film. And we as individuals are mature enough to understand and then make informed decision. The certification board, of course, is an independent body, and I think now that our discussions have taken place with the industry, the fears are reduced, and the certification board will perhaps demonstrate it in the upcoming films as well. Some of the other issues that you raised were about taxations. Now that's again something that unless the industry does not interact with the government will not know where the shoe is pinching you most. And once we do that, these will start getting eased out. But some of the taxes which have been kept out of GST is only for the reason that gradually, since we are moving towards GST, there is a certain time period required for people to get accustomed to it, for the states who are feeling a little unsure about what the GST is, and therefore some taxes have been kept out, but which would finally come into the GST as well.